Welcome back to Final Fantasy V. So we're back here again. Last episode, I feel like the super bosses kind of dominated the conversation for, I think, obvious reasons. But we did get a key that allows us to finally open this door. And wouldn't you know it, this is just a dungeon of ingrates. We just saved you from this cell! Alright, so Archaeo Demon is probably like the last major gimmick boss. So, he will counter physical attacks by casting death on himself, and he's undead, so that's just a full heal for him.
Oh.
So, you've got two options. Either you can fight Archaeo Demon only with magic, which isn't a bad idea. He does actually have a bunch of things that are reflectable, but alternatively you could just shut off magic completely, which also shuts off a bunch of things he can do as well. And so, we can just start stabbing him now. And he's just going to keep trying to cast death on himself over and over again. You can also MP drain him, but like, MP draining is not ever really a consistent enough thing you can do to make it a worthwhile strategy. As it stands, I don't even know if I would recommend this strategy, because, we're going to be seeing the words no and effect for a bit. But yeah, of course, since he's also a recolor of a certain other boss that had Mega Flare, he does too. He is charging that up, and I believe that is a thing he can still use, even in the state of nobody gets to use magic whatsoever. The other bad part of this fight, of course, is the fact that, since he is undead, that means we are back to the mode of nobody can Krill can dance, and if she swords dances, that's great. If she doesn't, no. She will probably be harmed by it.
So I'm guessing as a boss, you can't just use a Phoenix down to insta-kill this guy.
I don't believe so. I think he is resistant to that. I think it's a case of, like, the heavy status effect shields him from that.
I like that the draining move pulls out gigantic red blood cells.
Which makes it seem like magic, but no, it's a touch attack, so he can just do that. He can just eat all of your blood. Anyway, now he's real dead. Alright, well, that covers that. We got the Chaos Orb for defeating him. Also, I just realized since he is undead, that also means you can't Osmos him either, so... Draining MP is even less good for this fight. Because you usually can use Osmos and MP Hammer. Can't do that here. Alright, what's the Chaos Orb do? Dark Orb that increases the power of elemental magic. Not useful for Lethe. She's very good at punching now. Okay, well then. We're now done with that, so... Yeah, that's another bit of backtracking you have to do. You had to talk to that one guy, then come back here, and now we get to go all the way back over there. Because Sealed Temple hates the idea that you have any free time in your life. It says no. You have to walk through here again. Alright, yeah, now we pretty much just have to go past that annoying waterfall, and that's it. That's the path. They keep making you do this for reasons unknown.
There are parts I like about this bonus dungeon.
Yeah, I've actually kind of liked the bosses so far, barring the super ones. Archaeo Demon's interesting. He's not the first, and certainly not the last. You have to hit him with one damage type boss, but it's neat how they go about it, I guess.
This is something you actually complained about, but I do like how many of the, like, non-combat aspects of the job classes are required.
I just think it's a weird set of them. Like, we've got Beastmaster, and then we've got Thief. That's kind of it. They didn't find that many other uses. I guess technically speaking, you should have read ahead if you don't want to go mad. But yeah, I don't mind that in theory, I just think in practice they didn't do much with it.
Well, what other classes could they have played around with? I guess Geomancer.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of Geomancer. I mean, technically speaking, I guess there was Shinryu's lair, so Geomancer does come in useful there for the float thing. There's not so many collapsible pits, but I think there were a few, so Geomancer helps with that. But yeah, Final Fantasy V focuses mostly on fight abilities. Like, this kind of thing would be great in D&D, of just, hey, we figured out a way to get all of your non-fighty things in here. Hey, we actually did it. We found a way for you to not be murder hobos. But yeah, a lot of them are relegated to just specific classes, because Thief also has Fine Passages, which is kind of useful in this dungeon. Sprint, Fine Passages, Void Pits, Floats. Can't think of that many others. I kinda get it, just because, like, area traversal is a little more specific than fights, I guess. Like, they want you to be able to clear most of the game with, you know, what you want to use. And obviously certain fights are going to be a little more demanding, but I don't think anything so far has said, you have to use these classes or you just don't win. At most it's like, you need magic or you need physical, and that's it. But I kinda would like traversal abilities even still. I would kinda like to see how that would work.
I'm trying to think of all the out-of-battle spells you can get in the Dragon Quest games that I've played. Because there is... obviously there's reduce encounter rate, there is spawn an encounter, there is walk over damage tiles without taking damage. And then there are ones that, like, detect how many treasure chests are on this floor, tell you what direction the nearest town is. I feel like there are other weird things that merchants and merchant-adjacent characters can do, but I'm blanking on them.
Yeah, I'm also thinking, like, Saga also does out-of-battle, like, exploration stuff. Remember the 3D one has, like, is it like scrollers or something that you use? Well, there's probably more than one 3D one, but either way, it has, like, scrolls you can use that lets you, like, climb stuff.
Romancing Saga 1 and its remake Minstrel Song tried to do a lot with, like, traversal skills. Like, I think jump is a skill, and if you go to certain places, you can jump. And if you don't have a character with jump, you can't jump.
Yeah.
And it's... You start... I started that game, just remember thinking, like, oh, I'm just gonna load up on all these skills, but you can only take so many, and you have no real way of knowing what's going to be in the dungeon ahead of you, aside from just going and making a fucking note in a fucking notebook.
Yeah. I think they were probably trying to avoid stuff like that in this game.
Yeah.
God, the other thing I can think of that has, like, overworld traversal stuff is Sonic Chronicles of all things. I mean, I guess that one isn't terribly limiting just because it's relatively easy to set up your party in a way to be ready for that stuff, but also, it really, in that case, it does feel like it's just a very cheap, like, oh, well, there's platforming in Sonic games, so here's just stuff you can go to in the overworld. Touch the screen to do a spin dash through a loop, just like in the Sonic game.
I might be the only person on Earth genuinely disappointed we never got the sequel they tease at the end of that game.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are. I don't care.
Look, I've done multiple New Game Pluses in Sonic Chronicles, because sometimes when you're a kid you just play games that aren't great for reasons unbeknownst to you.
I didn't play Mass Effect, so like this was that was the closest I got.
Yeah, this is what this company does.
Genuinely, I kind of like the idea of BioWare doing licensed games, which isn't that weird. I mean, they got big for fucking Star Wars game. But I like the idea of them being given a character that has been portrayed a lot of different ways, along with most of his cast being portrayed in a lot of different ways, and just being told, like, go nuts, figure out how to make all these different personalities work.
Yeah. Just every once in a while think, man, Chronicles could have been good. They gave it to their B team. Not even. That was just straight up a new studio, if I remember correctly. Just, alright, well, here's some guys doing a DS thing. We've also given them exactly one xylophone to use for composing. Go nuts.
Damn, that's what I'm about to say, and we shot their composer.
It's just one of those things, though, that, like, it's almost good. You can see what they were going for.
Yeah. I kinda like Shade. It's a shame she's been banished to legal limbo.
Yep.
Along with like 90% of the extended Sonic cast at this point. She's the only like video game character though, so she stands out.
I mean, I guess it's kind of fitting for her, because storyline-wise, she was the one shoved into a weird dimensional cage. That's just where all the Sonic characters go. Anyway, Archaeo Demon was a gimmick boss. This guy is Guardian. He's just Soul Cannon Mark II, which means I guess he is kind of gimmicky in how he works. But here's the thing, after Archaeo Demon, this is nothing. Like, this is just a slightly more difficult Soul Cannon. And Soul Cannon wasn't that difficult when we first met him. Like, I certainly couldn't double flare Soul Cannon. Or throw money at it. But yeah, this is basically just here to be kind of annoying. Like, either you kill this guy and then go on to the boss and possibly die and have to start again, or you have to use up, you know, time in your own life, going back to a save point and saving before moving on after this guy. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of fitting, because this is Sealed Temple, and Sealed Temple really likes backtracking.
It's funny what we will and won't accept in video games when it comes to making them difficult. The bosses that require very specific setups to deal with is one thing. game design that makes me backtrack to avoid doing the same fight over and over again, unacceptable. How dare you?
I mean, it's not difficult is the thing. I have already blown up part of the sky, well, most of the sky. There's only one Guardian left. There are no other enemies here. But yeah, no, I'm about to prove I can do this. I know how to kill Guardian, and it is hit him with Flare repeatedly. Yeah, so obviously, you might want ribbons for this one, since he can petrify you or turn you old, but I don't really feel the need to change anything. It's got a bunch of tricks, but like none of them help. Probably could be better about damage even. But I just styled on him. Alright, bye.
Crystal Orb, we go with our Chaos Orb.
We're getting a lot of orbs. We could be a very orb-focused party if we wanted to be. Alright, so what's the Crystal Orb do? Let's see, where is that? There we go. Orb full of magic. Just chock full of it. Right, so yeah, like I said, you might want to go back and save, because we are about to fight a pretty difficult boss. I might call it a super boss. It's not as bad as Omega or Shinryu, but we are finally encountering Enuo, who uses the absolute worst spelling of domain.
Only familiar with that spelling because I play Crusader Kings, baby.
That's also what I've been playing in the void.
I finally have enough time for my Paradox games.
I am on so many levels of Legacy game you don't understand.
I understand Victoria 3. I have become unstoppable.
Alright, well then. So, the guy from the backstory is here at last. Here he is. Alright, so... Enuo has so many tricks.
He's already shaking in his boots, so I'm not scared.
Look, he has to show off the raw graphical power of the Game Boy Advance. Okay, so technically speaking, this is a battle with 3 targets, except you can only actually hit Enuo. His hands, however, are doing things, so you do have to be careful of them. He's got a ton of spells, including some of the dark magic spells we have on Necromancer. Everything's high level, you're not going to see anything below the Agas. And of course he's also got, you know, the usual high level ones, Flare, Holy Meteor. But he's also got some incredibly good rare attacks that we've really not seen from anything else other than, oh, I don't know, the final boss of the game. And Enuo's a little tougher than Neo X-Death, I would say. So, Grand Cross is going to hurt a little more coming from him. So in terms of super bosses, I'm fine with this one. I don't think Enuo being here really expands the backstory that much. He is a guy we heard about, so the crew for the remake were like, okay, well, you get to fight him. And it's like, yeah, alright, you can. I'm not really one for, like, lore, especially nowadays, so... It's a situation like this where I'm just kind of like, eh, that's neat.
Only video game series with good lore is Kirby.
Alright, now we're on phase 2, so once you do 60,000 damage, the power of the void will increase. So now the hands aren't doing anything, but Enuo has decided he wants to kill you. So, did not mention it beforehand, but it would be a good idea going into this with the ability to either remove or simply not become a zombie. Because he's got a lot of stuff that will do that sort of thing. Absolutely dispel him because he just starts by shielding himself, both with protect and shell. Oh, Almagest, how's it going? Oh, and Maelstrom, how kind. Well, I mean, I guess it's a good thing he does it in that order, but also, Jesus. So anyway, hey, do you like being hit by sap? Well, guess what? he does that. So, yeah, Almagest does a ton of damage, and again, yeah, it hits you with sap, so... technically speaking, I guess either order is pretty lethal. It doesn't matter that he did Maelstrom second. That still killed most of my party.
What's the difference between most and just an instant party wipe?
Yeah. Thankfully, of course, Lena's resistant to a lot of things. Bart's, however, is not resistant to Holy, but yeah, given Lena's setup, she resists a lot of basic elements, which is good. Let's rehaste. Things can go wrong very quickly. I don't think you have to be as specialized for Enuo as you do for Omega or Shinryu, but the number of tricks he has is very high. And they all kind of kick you. I came close to death a lot of times in this one. This is why I needed to have items, because... yeah, if he decides he wants to kill Bartz, he will simply kill Bartz, and there's really not much I can do about it. I'll also compliment him on his action economy, because it is quite high. He can do a lot of things. Oh, and he turned Ferris into a zombie. Great. But yeah, even when you're hasted, he just does a lot between all of your turns. So this is one of those situations where he is technically weak to slow and stop, but he has good magic evasion, so he's actually not weak to slow and stop. Theoretically speaking, he could be hit by them, but no, actually, he can't. That is also another reason why having a Magic Knight is a very good idea. Because that lets you actually hit him with spells. Of course, Flare is probably your best option. Holy's also pretty good. Just whatever helps do more damage than you normally would. And I'm once again counting my blessings that, thanks to this hack, I do have Spellblade and Rapid Fire on the same character. Nope, okay. Well, that was sudden. We did it. We deleted his Victoria 3 save. He'll never recover.
No, you updated the game! My strategies are useless!
Alright, well, goodbye. Donk. Alright, so one last crystal shard falls. So once again, this is this hack, so I've already had the Necromancer class. But yes, this is normally when you get Necromancer, after you've beaten this boss. So if you've already beaten Omega and Shinryu as well, congratulations, there's exactly one thing left to do, and it's nowhere near as hard as anything we just did.
Also, was Necromancer even helpful for either of those bosses?
I guess it could maybe be okay for damage, maybe? I mean, I can't imagine being undead would help you that much. None of the summon options on Necromancer were that good. And all the strategies I read about and the ones I used didn't really involve doing that much magic damage, so, I guess ultimately no. So yeah, game does want us to equip Necromancer, so I guess let's do that. Because only Necromancer can actually learn abilities from enemies. Unfortunately, that is not something that, is taken to Freelancer or Mime. Alright, well, put the knuckles back on, it's time to punch a ghost. So yeah, at this point, the game wants you to just go back through the final dungeon and kill a bunch of enemies with Necromancer to see if they have special magics that you could maybe use for Cloister of the Dead if you want to. But you might not want to, and it's not necessary in the slightest. Alright, there we go, we killed the Mind Flayer.
One last backtrack for the road.
Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. I could have killed a bunch of enemies with Necromancer, but I didn't care, so I didn't. It's an incomplete spell list, but it's just a matter of, like... I've killed things with Krill before. If I'd done it in a different class, it would have been fine. So, right, we've completed Sealed Temple. That's most of the interesting stuff, but... since it's relatively easy, next time on Final Fantasy V, we will take on the Cloister of the Dead, the last challenge of the game. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Let's just have a nice nap after killing an Uo.
There is something appropriate or perhaps ironic about Krill becoming a necromancer of all the characters.